Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Confessions of an Autism Mom. I know it has been a while since my last episode, but life has literally been lifing, and I am back. I may not have a video every week, but I will attempt to do every other week or once a month because I am in school and class is really hard. And I'm also raising Aiden. We're having a little setback with some of his behaviors. So I will try to get these episodes out, but I'm not promising every week as I did in the past. This week, I not only have an autism mom on, but I also have an autism dad. You all meet Ashley and Chris. Hi, Ashley and Chris. Welcome to Confessions of an Autism Mom. How are y'all
Hi,
doing?
Hi, how are you?
we're good. How are you?
Doing well. And everyone, for a laugh, we recorded these episodes before and it was a technical difficulty. So we are back again to have the same conversation, which they have an amazing story of how they not co-parent, but how they parent their autistic child and make it through everything. All right, so let's go ahead and hop in today's episode. Let's start off. Can you all share a bit about your child's journey and then the first sign you noticed that led you to get an autism diagnosis?
Yeah, sure. Gabby is our daughter. She is 6, almost 7. She was diagnosed shortly before she was 3. Um, when she was diagnosed, she was nonverbal, but man, that has changed. She's very verbal. She's in the first grade. Um, it's been a journey. Lots of therapies, getting through it together, figuring things out, finding that support from other parents. But we're making it through. I think my first sign was the speech delay.
Okay.
It was like her speech regressed when she was about 1.5. I noticed that her speech was regressing, and she did talk, and then she had words, and then they slowly went away. A lot of people told me it was because of COVID. That was around the time that we were in quarantine during the pandemic, and so everybody kept saying, "Oh, lack of socialization. She's not seeing other kids. She's just with you all day." But I knew in my heart that something else was going on, so I took her for a speech evaluation, and that started the therapies, and that's how we got to getting the diagnosis about a year after she started speech and OT. And I think, Chris, when did you realize that something was going on?
I think when I first really noticed it, she had already been going to therapy for some time, and they had for Halloween, they had a trunk or treat event, and they had various stuff out there for the kids to play with the bouncy house and stuff. And, all the kids were pretty much playing together, but Gabby, she went over there to play, and she just kind of sat in her own little corner and, just did her own thing. I think she might have had her tablet with her, and she wasn't really concerned what the other children were doing. She was just, entertaining herself in her own little world. And when she had started speech therapy a little bit after 2, one of the other therapists had brought up the possibility of her being autistic, and I don't think I was in denial about it, but I just, I seen how smart she was at home, without
Yeah.
having to communicate, and how she would problem solve, to get her needs met and to be able to watch what she wanted to on TV and such. So I think I just didn't put that much into it because they hadn't worked with her for very long at that point. But I think that's when it really set in that, yeah, I think I think they may know more of what they're talking about than I do.
And I kind of thought the same when the speech therapist had brought it up. I was the one taking her to therapy because I was primarily working from home at that time, and Chris was still working in the field. And she's about, like, I think we were a few sessions in, and she mentioned, like, oh, sometimes she doesn't answer to her name all the time, and she doesn't see this and she doesn't do that. maybe you should think about getting her evaluated when she's 3. And I automatically was like, well, what do you know? You don't know my kid. You only see her once
Yeah.
a week for an hour. I'm with her all the time. And at the time, we didn't really know too much about autism.
Yeah.
So, we automatically were like, oh, you're crazy, lady. Like that, you don't know what you're talking about. And I even got a new speech therapist because I was like, this lady is judging my baby. But like I said, like at the time, we didn't really realize the whole spectrum of autism. We didn't know anybody. The only people we knew with autism was Chris has 2 cousins that are profoundly autistic,
Okay.
and we only see them on vacation, and and they're older.
They live out of
They
state in
live out of
Virginia.
state. They're older. Like if we didn't realize how broad the spectrum was,
Mhm.
and that there's so many different layers and people. So when she initially brought it up, we were like, "Oh, this lady is wrong."
And like even the signs to look for,
Yeah, we didn't really know
we were new
anything.
to all of it, so we didn't really know what we were looking for. Whereas her, somebody that's studied in that field, they kind of know the signs, and typical behaviors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, quick question. When you all did receive the diagnosis and learn about the signs, did y'all kind of reflect back and say, oh, yeah, I saw that? Because I
Oh
know
yeah, of
I
course
knew
we did.
that. Okay.
It made a lot of things make more sense at that point.
And I know you briefly both described once the speech therapist said, get her checked for autism. After the actual diagnosis, how did you all feel and respond to that?
Well, so when she got diagnosed, I would say it was like a good maybe 18 months into her getting therapies and things. See, but without a diagnosis, with insurance, you don't get you get a limited amount of therapies. So, it was kind of like a relief because then I'm like, okay, we could get her the therapies that she needed, I can finally get, and we won't have to like keep going for all these referrals to different doctors' offices and things like that. But like I said, it was a year and a half into it. So at that point, now we started researching more and learning things. And it all just ultimately came down of we wanted her to get as much help that she could to work with it. So that's why it was a relief to finally have, okay, I got this diagnosis. Like I remember when we got the diagnosis, I felt relief, but I also was sad. And I
Yeah.
wasn't sad because she was autistic. I was just sad that her life may look different than what I anticipated when I was, pregnant and having her. And not even that much because I think Gabby is amazing. She's awesome. I wouldn't change her for the world. I was more or less scared that people may treat her differently, and
Different.
that's what made me sad. I didn't want her to ever have to go through any of that. So that's what, made me sad. But initially when we got the diagnosis the next day, I mean, I went through my feelings. Chris was like, it'll be okay. We'll do what we got to do. We'll give her whatever she needs. And I immediately got on the phone with the insurance company the next day and was like, here's the diagnosis code. And what now, what therapies can I get now with this code? And Blue Cross and Blue Shield was tired of hearing from me the next day because they were like, "Oh, we should get this faxed over." No, I got it right here. Let's get this.
Yep.
You fax what you need to fax over, whatever permissions. Let's get her on waiting list. Let's get her, signed up. And we started ABA, and then we were allowed more speech therapy, more occupational therapy. So it all just kind of boiled down to the relief of we could finally get her what she needs, and we'll work from there.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned around the time that you noticed it was COVID, when you received the diagnosis and tried to get the services, which you did get the services, was that a hard process with it being COVID? And was there like a long wait list?
So the wait lists everywhere are long, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I don't really know if it was different with COVID or not,
Okay.
because to this day, I mean, the wait lists are long. I know that I was frustrated because we had to go through all type of other testing, like you have to do a hearing test and you have to do this, you have to do that before you can go get tested. So I did get on the waiting list for the children's hospital,
Okay.
and then they were like, "Yep, well, the wait list is 6 months to a year." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's a really long time." And so I just kind of kept pushing. Like, I finally reached out to her therapy center and was like, "Look, you see signs, I see signs. Let's get this, let's get this done. Can you please give me any recommendations? Because we're all new into this. I don't know who I'm calling, but let me know where I could go." And they accidentally recommended that we went to a private clinic that did evaluations, and it ended up working out because, usually they don't diagnose till you're 3. Well, she wasn't 3 yet, which was
Okay.
also a hurdle I was coming into, calling some other developmental pediatricians in our neighborhood, because there were some that could get her in within like a month or two, and then once they were like, "Oh, she's 2, we won't even see her. We won't see her till till she's 3." So that was another hurdle I was coming up. So the good thing with the private one that the therapy recommended was
Uh-huh.
that they would see her at 2, but because they would see her at 2, they wanted her to go with the head doctor that led the practice because she was the one that did evaluations for kids that were under 3. So
Okay.
since that was a doctor that typically wasn't seeing kids that often, we got in within a good, I think, 3 weeks, and I got her diagnosed in like a month and a half.
That's amazing. That was the same for us, Aiden. So we went to a private psychologist, and she was able to get Aiden his diagnosis because he was just 2. So yeah,
Yeah, it worked out with
it
that.
worked.
But I was like, oh, I kept pushing. I was calling the children's hospital all the time. Is there any cancellations? Is is there any spots opening up? And it was just, there's just waiting lists everywhere.
It worked. Mhm. So let's talk about you two as a married couple. Um, when you all have like hard days, how do y'all support each other emotionally?
Oh man.
I buy her wine.
That's the right way to go.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Um, Man, I mean, it depends on what type of hard day we're having. Like I said, sometimes he may get me a glass of wine. Sometimes we have to just like sit and reflect after they go to bed. Like we just have to have like that downtime and maybe disconnect, watch a show. Um, Food is definitely our love language, both of us. So, we're having a really hard day. Think my mom could come over. We might go out and grab a bite to eat and just have that alone time, or let's go get the kids some McDonald's and me and you will get sushi so we could have just that break we
Yeah.
need.
Yeah, I think that break is important, and for us to stay connected, so we could kind of go at this together. Because, I mean, quite honestly, all three of us, me, Ashley, and Gabby, we're all on this journey together, and we all are not really sure what we're doing. We're just kind of feeling things out and seeing what works and what doesn't work, and there's going to be bumps in the road. I mean, that's just life in general, but particularly with an autism journey. um, so it's just kind of navigating those hard days. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, but
Right.
we sometimes we just got to make it through the storm and learn to dance in the rain.
And we've been together for quite a while now. We're going on 10 years.
Okay.
So we can kind of see each other's cues when the other one's a little burnt out, and we could pick up the slack for the other.
Yeah, I
And
think
that
as
was my next question.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of as being a man and father and husband. That you go into, that's like when we got her diagnosis, you immediately go into that you want to fix it mode, because that's just how guys are wired. So that was my immediate thought then when we got her diagnosis, and kind of still to this day. It's just like, okay, we have a problem. It might be rough to get through, but how do we resolve it? How do we help Gabby?
Gotcha. And that is completely understandable. You all answered like 3 questions in one, which is completely fine. Are there moments where one of you have to be stronger for the other? Like, does that switch out, or how does that go?
Yeah, I think that's with any situation
Yeah.
in relationships and with the family, but definitely like I think especially with in the beginning, uh, I was way more emotional, and Chris was always kind of the one like, "It's fine, calm down, whatever it is, we'll get through it, and we'll do it together." And
Yeah.
still, like to this day, like if I have bad days, because there's some days that, depending on what's going on, or if she's like super dysregulated and or having a horrible meltdown. I mean, there's been times where like we've been in stores and it was like just me and her, and it was one particular time was just it's still stuck in my brain. It was so bad, and it was just one thing that set her off, and I just felt defeated, you know. And I remember I was like 10 minutes away from home just crying, and I called Chris like, "Oh my god, this happened, blah blah blah, I can't believe it." And he's like, "Calm down, just get home safe." He immediately met us in the garage, took Gabby, and was like, "Go have a moment to yourself. If you want to go out and get something to eat, calm down, you could do that." So we definitely have had those moments. And I think, I mean, Chris doesn't always show his when he's like his isn't so as emotional. Like I'll break down crying, sobbing,
Yeah, we're
but
kind
he's
of we're kind
we're
of
the
like yin
opposite.
yang as far as our personalities go. Because Ashley's more outspoken. I'm a little quieter, and
I'm also very
she
emotional,
she just more outgoing about your feelings and your emotions and what you're going through. And just I kind of keep that I guess tucked a little more, because I always try to have that 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 strong mentality coming into everything to because as long as I can stay calm, I could help everybody else.
but I could
If I
tell
start
though
getting, if I
too
start
worked
getting too
up.
worked up, then
Uh-huh.
my judgment might be off a little, so I might not handle the situation the same way.
But I could tell if it's he may not say it, but I could
Yeah,
tell when something's getting a little rough or he's overstimulated because that happens to us too. We're
Yeah.
overstimulated or dysregulated too, and I could tell when it's just like he might need a moment. Like, all right, kids, let's go. We're gonna go take a walk, or we're gonna go. Dad's gonna go take a walk or sit in the porch for a minute. Like okay, so we kind of just go off each other's
Bounce off
cues.
of each other. Yeah. Okay, and so earlier this year when we spoke, there were just some statements made about how autism destroys families, which we know that it doesn't. And then, we mentioned that with the different deaths, it can have an effect on family when kids either get lost or they drown. How has this journey changed your marriage, if it has?
Oh, I think it changed it for the better.
I think it's brought us closer together in some senses, because we have to work together on a daily basis, so that teamwork and how we resolve conflict is something that we're constantly having to practice.
And we both found strengths that we didn't know that we had. So, and it brought new perspectives into our life, like having Gabby. Like we said, we didn't know. I mean, I grew up with my aunt has special needs. Chris grew up with family members that had special needs. He has a sister with special needs, but we never really dealt with autism. And
Yeah.
so it definitely was a learning experience, a good learning experience. And we have so many new friends and kids, and it brought different sides out of us to advocate and speak up, and just it's been a great learning experience. It's cool to see how different isn't always bad.
Bad,
It's
right?
it's awesome to see that their brains work a different way. I love seeing how Gabby problem solves or fixes things. It's really cool. So it's been a really cool journey. And yeah, stuff gets hard, but any journey's hard.
Any journey, yeah. And I was just explaining that to someone. I don't look at autism as bad, or it gets hard and have its challenges. But for the most part, I can say one thing that I've learned from Aiden is to just kind of slow down, because I love how he processes and, like
Mm-hmm.
you say, problem solve things. Even though his mind is going a mile a minute, he's still slowing down and processing everything differently. So it has taught me to process things differently. So, like you say, it's not all bad.
No, no, it's
And how do you all parent like differently? Because you all have another child as well. So do you parent differently with Gabby and
mm,
your son?
no. I think the awesome thing is, so Trey is the younger one, Gabby's
Okay.
older. So I think the awesome thing is that Trey has no choice but to be exposed and absorb inclusion and being around kids with differences, um, and that we treat them both the same and expect the same out of everyone. So no, there's no different parenting.
Yeah, I think it's important to have those same expectations of them, so they don't, so she doesn't see or feel like she's being treated differently.
Yeah.
You know, and that and that way, you know, they both understand what, you know, what needs to be done on a daily basis. So
And like I said, since he's already growing up with this and being exposed to all this, his classes, he's in preschool, but he's in an inclusive class. So there's kids that are neurodivergent, kids with physical disabilities, there's kids that are neurotypical, and I love seeing that they all play together. They know. I love that they're exposing them to that already, because they see that there's no
Yeah.
difference. We're all getting treated the same. So if he sees that at home, that everybody's getting treated the same, and like, hey, my sister might have some of the, I call Gabby's things quirks sometimes, but my sister's got some of those quirks.
Yeah.
And we're all at home. Everything's the same. Our parents treat all of us the same way. Then he'll know to treat people the same way too.
yeah, because I would have never want him growing up and looking at anybody different,
Exactly.
or looking at anybody less than because they have differences than him. Because even neurotypical kids, or adults for that matter, we all have differences. But it's
I
those
do.
same differences that can
Th-
also bring us together.
That's what makes the world interesting. If everybody was the same, it
Right.
would be boring.
It would be boring. Yes. All right. Let's. How do you all stay connected when everything just feels completely overwhelmed?
Communication for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's those times that we are able to get away, even if it's just to, you know, go get some wings or something. You know, just to have that break, so we could stay, you know, grounded with each other, so that way, you know, we're able to work better as a team together at home, to with parents in them, and navigating through the autism journey.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to other couples raising a child with autism together?
Hmm. That's an interesting one. Definitely keep the lines of communication open. Definitely take those moments to yourself. And that's with just parenting in general. I feel like you need that time with yourselves to connect and remember that it was you two, that you guys matter too, because you
Right.
can't parent if you're not on the same page.
I think I tell them just about having patience and understanding. I think you know, if there's one thing it's really taught me on this, it's the importance of patience. There was a video I watched one night, you know, going down a YouTube rabbit hole, and it was about uh, a parent that had an autistic kid that they were, when they would experience meltdowns, um, you know, they might lose their patience with them until they realize that they're, you know, that they're upset or having that meltdown because they're trying to communicate something with you, and they don't have that means to. So imagine how the frustrating that would be to try to explain your feelings to somebody, but you know, you can't get it out.
Yeah.
And the video was really moving that I watched that night, and it was late. And I went in Gabby's room and I just sat in on her bed and I talked to her, and she was sleeping, but I was just talking to her and apologized for the times that I've lost my patience with her, um,
Yes.
because she was more frustrated than I was. So you can't help. I can't help her with her frustration by being more frustrated than her. It's not a frustration competition or anything. So yeah, I need to remember to be understanding of what she's going through, because this is rougher on her than it is on me by far, because she's the one that directly has to deal with it.
Yeah.
You have patience
I'm
with the
just
whole
trying.
situation.
Yeah, just trying to help her get through it. But in the end, it's her that experiences the things that she does, um, and I have to try to help her gain those coping mechanisms to be able to get through those rough times. Because even as adults, we know not every day is a 10. Some are just a 2. It's just learning about dancing in the rain through those days that are only 2s.
And they
Yeah.
do say that the number of, separation, divorces, is higher when these issues are introduced to relationships. But, you definitely, like I said, you definitely got to leave the communication open. Everybody's going through the same thing. So,
Right.
support each other.
I think the number one thing that I could tell people going through autism journey is it's gonna be okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's it.
It may
Take
seem
a
like it's
take a
not.
breath, pause, pray, proceed, and it's all gonna be okay. It's not always gonna when you're going through those moments. Yeah, they seem rough, but it's not always gonna be that rough.
I think the unknown is really rough. That might
That's
what get
it.
people in the beginning.
Yeah,
Because you don't know.
yeah.
But that's life. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow with anything.
That
So,
is true.
And that's something that's came with time. That having that complete mind frame of that it's going to be okay. God will get us through this. He brought us to this. He'll bring us through it.
oh yeah.
Yes. I agree with that 100%. Ashley, you are really involved in the community when it comes to advocating. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. Since the last time we talked, life has also been lifing over here. So I have to get back into the swing of things. Um, but I just try to let other parents in our community know, especially our area, because I don't feel like
Support.
there's not a lot of support. Yeah, coming where not even support. Yeah, well, support from where it should be coming from, like from our neighbor, like our neighborhood administration. There's a lot of activities they have for kids in our area, but they're not. There's never any sensory things, or there's never anything for kids like ours. So I just started reaching out to other parents around here, letting them know, like, hey, I see you, I feel the same way, and we have to support each other
Yeah.
because, I feel like if I didn't have the support I had when Gabby first got diagnosed, I don't know where I would be at. We've met some really good friends in our journey, just going off of the support, finding support near us. And so if I could just help one parent feel like they're seen and have someone that understands, then I feel like I've done my job. I've done. We've had a couple dinners where we get together. I've done a couple of support nights of like panels and groups, and introduced other parents to our local special needs recreation so they can get resources. So the first school just started like a month ago. Everybody's all busy, so I think in a
Yeah.
couple months I will get back into the swing of things. I also have since now joined the PTA at
Okay.
their school. I'm actually on the PTA board.
Oh,
And, yeah, I was like, so I'm trying to bring that aspect to the school now. And actually, we're trying to plan something maybe for the spring to do like a kindness or inclusion day or something, to just where everybody is welcome, that everybody gets seen.
Yeah, letting other parents, of autism families, let them know they're not alone. Things can seem really unsurmountable at times when you are alone or you think you're alone, and just having somebody to reach out to when you're going through a tough time, it's priceless.
Just a couple weeks ago, I think it was like maybe the second day of school, me and Chris both were up there. Yeah, so we were walking the kids to school.
Mhm.
And we walked the kids to school, and I saw a mom, and I could just tell she was trying to get her kid in the door. She was upset. The kid was upset. I could see it on her face. And I didn't say anything in the moment because we were walking, and I didn't want to interfere with what she had going on. But then the next week I was at the school again by myself, and I saw her in the parking lot, and I stopped her and I said, "Hey, I saw you last week and it looked like you were having a rough day." And she was like, "Oh yeah, I was." And I was like, "Well, I just wanted to give you a hug, and I wanted to let you know that everything will be okay. And I saw what you're going through, and my spidey senses are telling me that maybe I understand. I probably am going through the same thing." And my daughter was diagnosed a couple of years ago. And she was like, "Well, actually, we are getting our, our diagnosis. And that's why I was having a rough day. And, it's just rough leaving my baby at at school. This is like his first year of school. And, we were just having a hard day. But I appreciate you coming to me and, you know, showing that support." And I said, "If you ever have a rough day, here's my phone number. Give me a call." And she said, I didn't have anybody that gets it. So you reaching out to me, it really means a lot.
Yeah, sometimes that's all people need is somebody that can relate to them, that have relatable experiences.
Yeah.
Because other people like those are the only ones that understand those predicaments.
I was like, "Girl, bring them over. We have a fence. We have
let them
we
run
have a
free.
swing set. Right. We got locks on. And see, only we would understand that. We have a fence. There's locks. There's and they can
There's
run
the
free.
little doorknob things.
Yeah, and they can run free in this backyard while we can have some adult talk."
Yes.
There's plenty of toys here to play with. Go at it. Go crazy.
Can't break anything in this house because I feel like that's such a stressful thing when you're when you're taking your kids out. You're like, "Oh my God, no, I don't want to bring them anywhere because I don't want them to break something." So
yeah, we're very lax on that.
Yeah,
on that in our house. If you break something, oh well,
right.
it can get replaced.
So I
have fun.
Yeah, I love that I can bring people that I have successfully bought some of our moms in the neighborhood, moms and dads, introduce them to a community, to people that just get it, because that means so much to have someone that understands. Because you could talk to and you should have friends of all walks of life.
Yes.
But sometimes our problems don't compare, and depending on the day, I'm sure you can relate to this, Amanda. Depending on the day, I don't want to hear about what your kid is going through.
Having different
having different experiences. You're like our experiences are just different. You might be talking about your kid going to cheer practice, and I'm talking about a hard day that my kid had at therapy, and we just aren't gonna. We're
not gonna see eye to eye about that conversation because it's like I have
that
a
moment,
million and one thing. Yeah.
At that moment when I need to vent about her having a hard day or this and that, you're not really gonna get it.
Right.
No. So it's good to have people that get it.
I'm happy that your kid learned how to ride their bike, but I'm dealing with a lot right now.
Right. I'm happy for you. That's so sweet. That's really I appreciate in the moment. But in the moment where you might be just going through something, and I could be like, "Hey, Amanda, today I took Gabby to ABA and she flipped out on our way in there." You may get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it because I'm gonna be like, "What happened? Tell me more."
Right. Aiden did that last week.
Yeah, Aiden just did that.
Right. So it's good to have. I'm glad that I could give more people that to have that support that just get it, because that's what you need sometimes in that moment. And you don't want to feel the isolation. Isolation can be just so detrimental.
It can be.
So you don't want that either. You need to have people that you can vent to and open up to.
And I love that you're doing that. That is so amazing because I really hate to see moms say that they're alone and they feel lonely on this journey they don't have anybody to understand them. And I'm like, it has to be other moms around,
Oh yeah, when I see that, I'm like, you're not alone. Come to me.
come.
Come. I
Yes,
have I will be there for you and I will introduce you to other people.
I love that. That is like the most amazing thing that you can have like in this community is someone that's really open and just like, come on under my wing and we're gonna do this, that, and the third. And I'm really big on that too. So I get
Yes,
it.
I saw your event that you just had this week.
Yes, we just had a event with yoga and journaling in the park with some moms and it was amazing
It was so
and
relaxing.
it was. We had an amazing time.
I was like, I wish I was closer, but
I
one day I'll get out that
know.
way. I'll get. I love to experience it.
Yes, it was amazing, and the moms are truly enjoying it. And again, they are lonely, and it's just like, here's an event. Just come out and enjoy and meet other moms and build friendships because we're kind of all we have when it comes to this autism thing. So, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna wrap it up. If you all could go back and talk to yourselves on the day of the diagnosis, what would you all say to yourself? Hello. Ashley. Okay, so let's start back. If you can go back in time and talk to yourselves on the day of the diagnosis that y'all received it, what would you say to yourself?
Um, I think if I can go back, I would say, "Girl, you're tripping. Is it'll be okay."
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, my God, it, the journey has turned out to be way more than you anticipated in a good way, and that everything turns out just fine.
Yeah, that kind of like along the same lines of what I was saying in the last question, just that it'll be okay. It's going to be rough. There's going to be bumps in the road, but that's life. And whether she was neurodiverse or neurotypical, there's still going to be bumps in the road.
Well,
It's just us working together and remembering that we're at all times that we're all on the same team. We're all trying to help each other out.
Gabby is a vibe. I love her. I don't just love her because she's my child. I might be biased and think that she's just that awesome, but I mean, everybody that meets her and comes across her is like, oh,
she's so cool.
she's hilarious. She's got such a vibrant personality, and I think part of it is thanks to her autism. She truly gives zero F's, and she will tell you how she feels. Um, she thinks outside the box, and I just love her confidence. I
Yes.
love how sassy she is. I love how she just doesn't care.
Yeah,
The
even before her speech came,
she
she
always was a
always had a
vibe.
really strong personality.
Yeah, even silent, she had a personality. Even when she talked with the talker, it was like you could tell. It was like when she would type it because she's so intelligent. She taught herself how to read. She reads
Uh-huh.
a couple grade levels ahead. Like,
That's
and
amazing.
even when she would just type on the talker, like I remember one time we were at a restaurant and we got there and she types on the talker, we're at a restaurant. And I said, yeah, yes we are. I need French fries. It's her favorite food. And
Uh-huh.
I said, okay, we'll get French fries. And the waitress came and she tapped on the shoulder. She typed, I need my French fries. And she's like, oh yeah, bring those French fries out. She took a little too long, and then she came back, and Gabby, with a smile on her face, hit, "It's time for fries." Like, girl, you better hurry up with these
And like
fries.
she like kept hitting it too.
She's so funny. She cracks all of us up. We're always like, oh, Gabby, she's got her own sense of style, and it's great living in Gabby's world. It really is.
It is.
She is great. So, and autism is a part of her. And so that's why I say I wouldn't change her for the world. This is who she is. This is who God intended her to be. And I think God placed her in our lives to teach us something.
Yes.
And it's been a great journey. I love telling Gabby stories. I'm always like, ah, guess what Gabby did today?
And
It's
I
really
can agree.
it's really ironic too because a lot of the focus is always us trying to be there for her when she's having a rough day. But there's been countless times when I might be having a rough day and then come home and it's something that Gabby does. There's something that makes me smile or laugh out loud about that she does every day. So to have those things to be able to make me forget my small problems are there's nothing like it.
And she's got a great sense of music. Her new favorite thing is Kendrick Lamar. She is,
Okay.
she's really,
She loves to squabble up.
yeah, she'll be like, Mom, turn on Squabble Up.
Yeah, she has great sense of music.
Yeah, so she's a great artist. She's very creative. I always get compliments from her teachers, like, "Oh my God, like she's the one in our class that knows what she wants, knows what she's gonna do. She'll go to the cart and get her own stuff, so she can just work on. She's just very determined, and I love it.
Like last year, she created the
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 alphabet.
alphabet for she made cut out all the letters. They were nice sized letters because they went around the border of their classroom, and she designed them and colored them whichever way she wanted to.
We thought it was like that they bought it from like the store or something, and we went to parent teacher
Really?
conference, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Gabby did this. She created the whole ABCs."
Right, all of them.
And we're like, what? She's like, yeah, every day she's like, she had a different pattern and she wanted an animal type one. So she did every letter as an animal. And it was I was like, oh my God. She amazes us all the time.
And I love to hear stories like this because I feel like, as you say, Gabby was once nonverbal and then she's now speaking. I think a lot of parents, when they think nonverbal, they really think, oh, my kid can't do anything or they won't be able to accomplish much. And to hear that, before she even started speaking, she had her own personality and she was a vibe and very sassy. So
Oh
I love
yes.
Yes.
to I love to hear stories like this because it gives parents like, okay, let me work with my baby and let me understand my baby and figure it out because nonverbal does not mean the end.
Oh no, Gabby will tell you she's the queen. She went through a Queen Poppy phase from Trolls, and she
Uh-huh.
was the queen forever. And I remember one day, remember last year, Chris, when they had Queen and King Day at school,
Yeah.
and that went to her head. They gave her a crown, and she was like, "I am the queen,"
Yeah.
and we were like, "Okay, I need my dress." And she wore a tutu and a crown to school next day. I didn't even care. I was like, "Go ahead, girl."
Right. I
And
think
she loves the compliments. And everybody's like, "Oh my gosh!" She's like, "Oh, thank you."
I think to what you were saying about understanding your child, I think that's really important too because as eh, when they told us that she was nonverbal and that she may remain nonverbal, it we have to pay even closer attention to our kids to be able to have that same understanding because they can't communicate.
Right.
Now we were just fortunate to that she got that early intervention with therapy, and then I think the placement with the school she's at now was important for us as well because she tried preschool at a different school initially,
It was
and
a horrible experience.
it didn't really work out. They didn't have the resources. They thought they could handle her because they had a couple different students from her therapy group that went to this school, and they were just on different levels of the spectrum. And it was just not a good fit.
See, Chris is
And
so nice. It wasn't a good fit, and I got a grudge against those people. See, that's how we yin and yang.
yeah, and so they after it was fairly early on, a few weeks in, I think three weeks or so,
Yeah.
right? And they told us, oh, we don't think she's ready for school yet, and we were just like, okay, and we just pulled
You
her out
said
and went
she's
our separate ways. And but I told Ashley, I said, I don't think I wouldn't jump to that conclusion yet. It's only been a couple weeks in. Let's try
Right.
her at the school that's right down the street from our house, and they have speech therapists there as well.
all
Um,
type of therapist.
yeah, they have several therapists there that kind of coincide with her therapy. And since she's been there, she's really exploded with her
Yeah, she
vocabulary
really flourished.
and just her how outgoing she is, and being in blended classrooms with other neurotypical kids, seeing that socialization of how they deal with each other, just all of it, finding the right situation for your child, it means the world.
I
Yeah.
love to hear that. And I'm so glad she's doing amazing. It's just one of those stories like, yes, our one of our babies has really went over and beyond of what the doctor said that they would not be able to do. So
And that really shows you that we don't have the final word.
Right. It's funny you say that too, because early on, we said that Ashley's always been kind of the more emotional one about when it comes to that. And I told her, don't count Gabby out yet. And I said, look at what God's done in people's life. There's people that were born with no legs that could walk, that have run marathons. So
Yeah.
don't tell me anything's impossible.
And we're all the way that he intended us to be anyway. So
that is true. And it's
yeah.
gonna work out.
Yes.
And so what are your confessions as autism parents?
Um I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Hmm.
It's okay to say that you had a rough day. It's okay to say that it's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, and I think I felt at points that I was judged for saying this. It's okay to grieve. And just because you grieve doesn't mean you're grieving because you're sad that they're autistic. Like I said, you can grieve that our kids may have a life different than what we anticipated.
Yeah, I agree with
And
that.
nobody wants to see their kids struggle. So to know that there might be times that things might be harder for them, of course it's okay to grieve that. So it's okay to grieve and feel your feelings. I think when you say that, people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're saying that." You know that you're upset that they're autistic. That's not what you're saying. What we're saying is you want the best for your kids. You want the easy. Of course, we want the easiest road for our kids. We don't want them to struggle for anything or feel different.
Yeah. And for you, Chris?
Hmm. I don't
Oh, he's thinking
know.
hard.
Yeah. Like a confession. I don't know.
It can be good or bad.
I guess that, that the autism dads, that they have rough days too, because I think,
Oh yeah.
society has this persona for men that they're always supposed to be, the strong one, the tough one, and they don't break, but it's rough, sometimes there's plenty of days that are great, but some aren't that great.
There's
um
not a lot of support
so
for dads either.
yeah, I
It's not.
think that's what makes it particularly hard for some guys. I've been fortunate with Ashley, having the support groups and stuff like that. It's kind of um it's gave me more perspective on things, and I've seen some other guys in there sometimes, so seeing that is kind of uplifting too, because I think you don't see it as much from dads. And I'm not sure why that is, but you always see a lot of moms in the groups and stuff, and uh, so to see dads there and know that they experience those rough times too and are vulnerable enough, I
Yeah.
guess, to kind of show that and say, hey, I'd like to get some more resources and some more help so I could help my
Yes.
kid. I think that's really uplifting.
And so when you say that about the dads, I was having this talk with someone that was helping me prepare for a speech. Me and the co-founder, both of us are the co-founders of Spectrum Sisters, and so she was like, "Well, why y'all don't support men?" The only thing that I could think of was I think men aren't as open as women would be. Would you agree?
I think that's probably the main benefactor to that is just, yeah, I think we're more, closed off with not closed off. I think we just keep more stuff to ourselves. We always try to shoulder that whole burden, or, just remain tough for our families,
Just go with those
and
societal
yeah,
expectations.
yeah.
But
Gotcha.
dads need support too.
Yeah, and they do, and I always look at that, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, will they come? Will they be open to it? Because the center that Aiden goes to, the BCBA, she was telling me that there are a lot of single dads. And I was like,
Really?
oh, wow, I didn't know that. And she was like, yeah, it's like three of them. And I was like, okay, I didn't know that. And she was like, they may want to come and, express their feelings, which I'm open to it. It's just it's
Yeah.
hard to
So
read
a
men
couple of support
sometimes.
groups we opened up to just parents, and we've
Yes.
had we've had dads come. So
Yeah, it
Okay.
doesn't
try
hurt
it
to
out.
just throw out the invite. If they come, they come.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank y'all for that advice. So, as we come to an end, where can they follow you all on social media and follow your journey with Gabby?
Well, you could tag me on my
Okay.
Instagram. We're
I would
also
definitely do
we're
that.
both also on Facebook. But Chris, he's a big HVAC tech. He's always busy, especially now in the summer. So
Yes.
he's not really on social media. But yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to follow me on
I
Instagram,
am periodically.
yeah. Well, you know where I am here, so you can follow. You can follow us. You can tag us on the post, and if they want to follow us on Instagram and follow the journey of Gabby.
Yes. And you all, I will put that information in the description box. And most of you all follow me on Instagram. And of course, as I promote their episode, I will tag them in there so you'll be able to follow them. Thank you, Ashley and Chris, for coming on this evening and sharing your journey with Gabby and how you all cope as a marriage couple and just helping people understand that communication is the key and that everything is going to be okay. Thank y'all for coming on again.
Oh,
Thanks for having us.
thank you
Of
for allowing us to share our
course.
story.
Of course. And you all make sure you follow Ashley and make sure you leave a comment under the video for encouragement and support Gabby's journey. I will see you all on the next episode.